Yeah, hello, good evening once again. I would want to stand in for the moderator. I think he's currently not available, but when he joins, he will take over for me. This is Abednego speaking, and I'm going to work as the moderator and then also as okay, so yeah, so we would start right away. Let's kindly invite Princess Sidu. If you can hear me, kindly unmute. Give us an opening prayer. Mr. Prince, if you can hear me, kindly unmute and give us an opening prayer. Oh, okay, okay, all right. I think Prince is having network challenges at his end. Christiana, if you can hear me, kindly unmute and give us an opening prayer.
Oh, okay. Please, we are praying. We pray in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our dear Lord, dear Master Savior, we thank you. We thank you for such a wonderful day, wonderful evening. It's our prayer that so God will be with us. Please help us so that whatever we discuss here, we practice them. This and many other things we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Christiana. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, so I think the moderator is in. I would hand over to Khalid. Khalid, please take over.
Okay. So it's been a wonderful time having you guys on the call. So we are zooming right into it. So we have a webinar which is titled Level Up Your Career, Transforming Yourself for Success. So we are going to the purpose of the meeting, and that's going to be handled by our president, who is in the person of Mr. Abednego Aaron. Mr. Abednego, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, good evening. Thank you very much, Khalid. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Good evening to you all. I believe that we all know why we are here. I think the flyer has been shared countless number of times, so we know why we are here. And I think that's one of the important webinars young people wouldn't want to miss. So we are here to learn from our guest speakers. They are here to educate us on how to write a quality CV, how to, build ourselves, our personal development, and also mastering interview preparation. So I entreat everyone to take, advantage of this webinar, put down questions, put down ideas that you come along with, and then also let's make this webinar an engaging one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abednego, everyone. Mr. President, thank you once again. So at this juncture, we are going right into it to introduce our first speaker, who's in the person of Mr. or Sir Seth Ajedi. So, Mr. Seth, if you're on the call, we'd like to take your insights.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is Seth. So I'll jump right into it. Am I to wait for further introduction, or should I jump right into it?
Yeah, you would have to wait for us to read your profile shortly.
All right, great. So it's good to be here, and I'm looking forward to an engaging session. So thanks for having me, and thanks, host. Back to you.
Okay, Mr. Seth.
Okay, hello. Yeah, I think sorry for that. The IT team is currently facing challenges with projecting their slides, but I would want to read from my end so that it makes the work easier for us.
Oh, yes. I think, Mr. President, just do us the honor. The honest.
Okay,
Thank you very
sure,
much.
sure. Okay. So speaker's profile, our first speaker. We have here Seth Mr. Seth Adije, who is an L&D professional, African Mining Services, EMS. He is a highly experienced learning and development professional with 2 decades of expertise, including 10 years in the mining industry. He is skilled in content development, training, and assessment. He possesses a master's degree in learning and development from the European International University, Paris, and a certification from the Society for Human Resources Management, that's SHRM CP, and an Australian Set 4 trainer and assessor. He is currently a specialist content development superintendent for African Mining Services, EMS. Thank you. Khalid, take over.
Okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Abednego. So Mr. Seth's profile, as you all know, is a very rich one. He's an L&D professional, and he's going to give us his insights. Mr. Seth, boss, the floor is yours, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Can I project my slides? I find it easy to.
Oh yes, you can project your slides now.
Okay, so please confirm if you can see it.
Yes, please, we see.
Perfect. All right. So thanks again, guys, for having me here. And just on the side, I understand the respect with professional spaces and in our Ghanaian culture to be adding Mr. and Seth and stuff. But with me, I'm not saying do it with everybody, but with me, I am extremely okay if you just call me Seth. I'm okay with that. So kids call me Seth, grown-ups call me Seth. So it's okay if you do not add any of the titles to it. All right. Once we have that out of the way, I would want to jump into it. Highlight certain points that could be beneficial for people who want to develop themselves and for the job market. So instead of me trying to lecture and tell you exactly how it is, I do believe that everyone's journey in their careers are different, but the principles hold true. So I've outlined about 10 good points. I would state them and flesh them out a bit, but I would encourage everyone listening to try and apply those ones to their own unique journeys. Because if I'm trying to give you direct step-by-step or strategies, it would be through the lens of my career, which might be very different. But these principles or points hold true for anyone in any field. I've spent most of my career in mining, but many others listening here would not be into mining. So I wouldn't want to really reiterate the point or expand the points in the lens of my career. Okay, so I would outline these points and then each person can take notes and then see how these things apply in their own lives. All right, so let's jump right into it. There are 10 points I said I would be highlighting, and the first one, which I believe is the most important one, is continuous learning and education. So many of the audiences in here might be continuing students. Some might just have gotten out and are in national service. Others might even be in the work field already. But this point holds true to everyone. Much of the time when people get their degrees, they think, oh, I'm done with schooling and now I'm going to work. But that is a huge scam. And if you have that mindset, you might set yourself up for failure. Learning and education has no end. So even though you might go through the formal education where there's a time frame to it, your personal learning and education should not have an end. Even beyond your pension, you should still continue to learn and develop yourself. So it is even more critical at this stage for you to really jump into or continue learning and education. And there are 2 tiers to this. First is formal education, like SHS, university, your master's, your up to PhD, and even being a professor. These are formal education. So the encouragement is that you've got to enroll in courses and certifications. You might be in the university now, but still have side courses that you are taking. Okay. So in addition to your degree, which just might get you into the interview room, to set yourself apart, you must have to add on this standardized certification, which is the degree and the master's. You have to add on to these ones additional learning and certification. Okay, so you might take advantage of online platforms like Coursera, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning. These are great resources that come at very cheap prices. There are many online courses that are even free. So guys, can you even believe that even Harvard, like, you know Harvard, right? When you mention higher education, Harvard, Yale, Oxford, they are the top, like, creme de la creme. These institutions offer free online courses. Can you believe that? So take advantage of these ones, okay? And then you can build up your certifications and education whilst keeping your mind fresh in the industry. And then you'd also want to look at workshops. So try as much as possible to attend industry-related workshops, seminars, and webinars so that you can stay updated with the latest trends and technologies. And these workshops also give you the platform for you to connect and network. But as we go down the talk, you will talk about networking too, in helping in your personal development for the job market. So the first point is continuous learning and education. Do not stop, please, guys. Connected to the learning and continuous learning and education is skills development, right? So it's kind of an extension of the first point. You've got to pay attention to developing your technical skills. Okay, so develop and refine them. Unfortunately, in our country, we do not have so much exposure to technical skills when we are in the formal education space. Yes, there are opportunities for technical skills, but it is not as rigorous as the developed countries where you have real hands-on technical skills. So it is up to us to take these things into our hands. Okay, so these should include stuff like, say, software proficiency. If you are a mining engineer, are you taking time to be extremely proficient in software like Leapfrog and Datamine and those related ones? If you are a graphic artist, are you taking time to master software like Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and the rest? If you happen to be, say, an accountant or an HR professional, you've got to invest yourself into learning the industry standard software like SAP and the other software that are used. In all of these, you are developing yourself for the job market. Remember, 1,001 people or 1,000,001 people have graduated with degrees, but these other skills will set you apart. On top of the technical skills, you've got to also enhance your soft skills. So work on stuff like communication, like teamwork, problem solving, leadership. These things would tune your brain up in a way that would set you apart. And when you sit in an interview or you get a chance to intern, you would stand out from the rest. So take your time to develop these skills. And again, it is not hard to find resources for these skills development. Many are free online and others are quite cheap to afford. So take advantage of these. I spoke to you guys about networking, right? It is critical. In the job space, even though your skill set and your qualifications will open doors, it is who knows you that really gives you the opportunities. I cannot express this enough. Myself, I believe I am quite proficient with my profession. However, many of the good roles and good negotiations and salaries that I get to enjoy, much of them, I had the confidence and I had the roadmap laid before me by people who know me. So take this one very, very important, if not equally important as the learning and development points we spoke about on the first point. So try and join professional associations. So if you're an engineer, you would want to join the Ghana Institute of Engineers or other professional associations. If you're an HR person, you've got to join the HR societies. If you're an accountant, you'd want to join your relevant professional associations. These would provide you opportunities to meet industry professionals and gain insights. Okay, you put yourself among those who already are in the field, and you would be able to connect very well. Another point is to also go to networking events. Okay, so go to these events, whether they are job fairs, career fairs. Look, there are people who go to career fairs who are not even students, but they would go to the university career fairs just to network with industries that have come to showcase. And guess what? If you have honed your skills in a certain way that you are so proficient with certain software or you have certain qualifications in your discussions, you could lay these things out. And people who mount these job fairs or career fairs are looking for talents. So you might set up your own interview at these career fairs to set yourself up for winning. So do not sleep on this one. If you hear of any of these ones, try very much to attend in order to build strong professional network. And this would really open doors if you do it right. Whilst you network, it is critically important for you to also think of mentorship. Look, there are professionals who have years, decades ahead of them, who have made errors, have failed, and they would point you out so that you don't fail. So imagine that. Imagine you could eliminate about 50% of the failures that you could encounter just by having someone hold your hand and telling you, you know what, I wouldn't take that step if I were you. Try and do it this way. Life will be way easier, right? And then the mistakes you make will be minimal and they would not hinder you that much. So seek out mentors who can provide such guidance for you. Okay, reach out, ask for advice and support, and you would be able to navigate and also develop yourself in the job market. Okay. However, the second point, many might think, oh, wait, this wouldn't apply to me. You've got to be a mentor. Before you start self-sabotaging yourself and thinking, wait, I am not that high up the corporate ladder. How can I be a mentor to someone? Ditch that thought. There is always someone who is lesser than you. Okay. For myself, I am targeting, say, the C-suite. I would want to get to the chief training officer of a huge international company. I am not there yet, but I have mentors. I have vice presidents that I call out and reach out so that they can show me the roadmap. However, I'm a superintendent. There are officers, there are other supervisors, there are university graduates, university students who are below me in experience. So in as much as I seek out mentors where they can shine the light, I am also capable of shining light for to those who aren't yet or haven't yet gotten to my level. So irrespective of where you are, you might be in an entry-level position. There's still someone beneath you, someone who is in his final year. There might be a person who is in level 100. And might think, how can I be a mentor? There is someone in SHS3 who is looking up to you. So it is important for you to also present yourself as a mentor to someone who isn't yet at your level. Mentoring others can really help you yourself, not even the ones you're mentoring, but it can help you yourself to develop leadership skills and reinforce your own knowledge. Good. Now, the next point I want us to talk about is career planning. Without any plan, you will be flying blind, okay? And you might look like you are making, there is movement in your career, but you might not be making progress, okay? So never confuse movement with progress, all right? The thing is, if you set goals, you have an aim. where you are driving towards, and you are very less likely to be swayed anywhere. Do you see how an arrow that is aimed at a target goes directly to the point? Even though there might be bends in the wind would influence it, and a whole lot of aerodynamics could influence the arrow, it heads towards its goal. Compare that to, say, a polythene bag that is blown by the wind. It looks like it's really moving and busy, but it might be going in circles and exhausting itself if it's, say, a human. So you'd want to set goals, and you've got to set SMART goals. I do not want to go into goal setting. It might be in another seminar or another speech, but you might want to research setting SMART goals, which is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Set SMART goals and run regular assessments of yourself. Check yourself and see if you are headed towards the goal you've set. And if you've set the goals right using the SMART acronym, you would have a time-bound goal, you would have a specific goal, you would have a measurable goal. So you can tell whether at this point in time, I am really making progress towards this goal, or if I am falling short. Do I need any adjustment toward it? Or do I need to stick to the plan? Setting career goals are critical, else you might look busy, you might look engaged, but you would not make progress. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. All right. Moving on to the sixth point is personal branding. You've got to develop a professional online presence. Much of our lives are online right now, okay? So you would want very much to be deliberate about how you present yourself online. And this includes maintaining an updated LinkedIn profile, engaging in your professional niche as much as you can, and creating, if you have the chance, you can create, say, a personal website. For example, if you go to adeji.com, my surname.com, it's my personal website. But I understand not everyone could afford it. Not everyone has the skill set to build one up. Do not be disheartened if you do not have one. LinkedIn is good enough for you to really assert your brand. But keep this in mind. Even though you might be thinking of keeping a professional brand or persona on LinkedIn, remember that all the other social networks are interconnected in certain ways. So you don't want to be ratchet and be showing your butt on Twitter or Instagram and thinking you can really present yourself as a professional on LinkedIn. It's got to cut across. If you appear drunk on Facebook, or you're showing, say, your breasts around and you want to maintain a professional brand, it will hurt it. So wherever your professional presence is, be deliberate about it. And this even includes on your WhatsApp statuses. Okay? People should just get a perception of a professional once they come across your name, your content, or even your own self. And then the other point is to create a portfolio. So if you've created a work, your kind of work is something you can show, tangible stuff. Try and create a portfolio and showcase it as much as you can. Projects you've worked on, showcase them. Write about them on your blogs, your social media pages like LinkedIn or other pages, and showcase your achievements. These things are not bragging, it is personal branding and marketing yourself. Remember, you'd want to personally develop yourself for the job market. So use these hard-earned achievements and work into promoting your brand. This can be very, very powerful in job applications. Imagine this. There are many times where I've got it, even though I am working, I sit in many job interviews because I apply to keep myself warm in the interviews. Much of the time, people like, wait, I know you. I've read your articles on LinkedIn, right? And it's like halfway through the interview already because they already know what you are worth. Because you might not say all the articles or your thoughts in the interview, but once you present these things out there, you've put yourself very much ahead of others who do not personally brand themselves. Health and wellness. All right. Now, this is the thing. Your physical health has a bearing on your success in the job market. And you might think, wait. Are we not talking about employment or career? Health and wellness, how does that apply? If you maintain a healthy lifestyle by, say, regularly exercising, eating a balanced, healthy diet, having sufficient sleep, your personal well-being would improve. And this will significantly impact your productivity and job performance. So imagine you're an intern and you're always working and you are sloppy and you're tired and you're always yawning because you had less sleep because you were scrolling on social media, or because you didn't eat well, you're bloated, you feel sleepy constantly, or you do not have the vim and the drive to work. It will tell on you and you will come across as a person who slacks. Contrast that with a person who is healthy, who exercises regularly, has enough sleep, and comes to work vibrant and energetic. These two people, who do you think would be seen as a more desirable person to be given the chance to advance? So pay critical attention to your physical health. And I'm not saying go carry weight and be a bodybuilder. I'm not saying that. Regular exercise keeps safe and fit, and that is what is important. Okay. And then equally important is your mental health. So you've got to practice stress management techniques, mindfulness. There are many apps and tools that help us to focus on tasks and to keep us from being distracted, not being bogged down with social media. In our day and age, there's extreme amount of relationship problems. Almost everyone is chopping breakfast these days. There are heartbreaks all over. Pay critical attention to your mind. You do not want to lose yourself whilst battling these things, okay? There are many books on mental health. You might want to speak to your mentors who have gone through these things so that you can keep your mindset intact. All right. Now, I'll leave it. If someone saw a mistake on this page, that would be a good thing. That would mean that you are very critical and you can share it. There's nothing wrong pointing it out when we have the chance to interact. All right. If you need to develop yourself for the job market, be ready to find experience through volunteering. Okay? You can gain practical experience through internships. So if you are a student or a person who's just gotten out of school and is finding it hard to get into the job market, you would want to first gain the experience. And much of the time, people think, okay, I need to gain the experience by being employed and being paid for it. But that's not it. Many gain experience, or they hack this system by gaining experience through volunteering. For example, this slide that you are watching, I gave a template to a friend or so a mentee who says, hey, you know what, I'd want to develop your slides, throw me your points and let me put it together. And she did it. I love the slides. I'm using it as it is. Okay. Now, she can put it on as an experience. Even though she wasn't paid for it, it is an experience. Okay. So use this hack as much as you can. Volunteer for internships and do as much as you can to present yourself to gain experiences. Then we would move on to the next point: feedback and improvement. You do not want to be the horse that has blinders on its side and cannot tell where he is on the track or where she is on the track. So you need to find out, because there's a local proverb that says, "Nyocha sano," right? It goes like a person doesn't know if their path is crooked. I'm not the best in she, all right, but I understand the point.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Perfect. That's it. So you've got to seek feedback because we are social animals or social beings. We interrelate with each other, and you might think, wait, I'm killing it. I am on top of my game. Meanwhile, you might be a village champion and others have surpassed you, or you might be going in the wrong direction. So regularly ask for feedback from your peers, from your supervisors, from your mentors. Okay. And once you're asking for feedback, look, You do not have to have a soft core. Sometimes the feedback would bite, but you've got to swallow your pride and ego and take the feedback. Because much of the time, the feedbacks that would come are constructive criticisms that can help you identify areas for improvement. So once you ask for feedback, be ready, brace yourself to hear certain truths. Sometimes your mentor is going to give it to you. I've had it from people I look up to as mentors. And they point to certain points I think, wait, that's a bit harsh. But when I listened, it helped me. Okay. So constructive criticism would really help you. On top of that, whichever feedback comes from everyone, most important is for you to have self-reflection. Okay. No one is walking your shoes. They can only tell you the feedback through their lenses and through their perceptions. But you should be brutally honest with yourself and have a self-reflection to see if you are really making progress or not. And then the 10th point I'd want to end this speech with is that you've got to be adaptable and resilient. Okay. First is to embrace change. In our day and age, change even happens extremely fast. And like a saying goes, the only constant thing is change. Everything will change, whether you like it or not. So you should be malleable, you should be fluid so that you can adapt as much as you can. Back in the day when we were growing up in science, we are told these organisms kind of thrive or exist because of the principle of the survival of the fittest. But that really isn't the entire truth. It is the survival of the most adaptable. Because there are certain animals that are not the fittest, but are capable of adapting to their environment and the situations they are in for them to survive. So you need both. You need to be fit or resilient, and you need to be very adaptable. So you've got to be open to new experiences and be willing to adapt to changing circumstances. And remember that the job market is extremely dynamic. Today there's COVID, there's lockdown, everybody's got to go online. Are you ready? Are you willing to adapt? Next moment is not COVID, but we need to do certain things because the government of Ghana says we've got to do this health and safety thing. Are you willing to adapt? There's a new software that is in. Are you willing to adapt? There is AI coming up. Are you willing to adapt? If you're unable to adapt, you'll be a cake. You'll be like a pensioner, and you might not even break through the job market. So remember, be adaptable. It's critical. And then you've got to build a tough persona, which is resilience. Develop resilience to overcome setbacks and challenges because the setbacks will come. The top flyers in their careers would have setbacks, would have moments where you are in your lows, but you've got to build that tough skin where you can bounce back. Okay, you will get the bites, you will get the pinches, but you've got to build a tough skin for you to come out as resilient. And much of it is with your mind. A resilient mindset can help you to persist and succeed in the face of difficulties. So there you have it. To recap it, we've got 10 points listed here. Remember to keep learning, develop your skills. It is important for you to network because who knows you really opens the door. Find a mentor and be a mentor. Plan very well. Build your personal brand. Keep yourself healthy. Try and volunteer so that you can gain experience from it and seek for feedback and use that feedback to improve. And in that process, try to be extremely adaptable and resilient. And when you do this, you will be able to develop yourself and make yourself stand apart or stand as a unique brand in the job market. So thank you. I'd want to end this speech here. I appreciate you all for listening to me. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Sir Adiji. In fact, we are leveling up in our career. I took some key highlights from Mr. DJ's presentation. Spoke about networking, professional branding, and one thing he stressed on, which I believe is very, very crucial for all of us, is the continuous professional development as we continue to build skills and competency in most of these training programs that we do. Thank you very much, Sir DJ. So at this point, I would like to run some ads for NegoSAP. So NegoSAP is committed to providing professional and personal assistance and then competency in these things that Mr. Adeji spoke about. So we have our upcoming graphic design training program happening from 1st to 31st of August. And then if you are interested, you can sign up. Also, we offer services for these professional Zoom account spaces. If you want to have your program and you need a professional Zoom, just reach out on 020-995-5908. So thank you once again, Mr. Seth Adeji. So at this point, we'd like to take our next presentation from God's will, Sir God's will, Gajekpo. Sorry, sir, in case I described your name. Yes. So I would like to read our speaker's profile. So Gajekpo is a recent graduate from Youngstown State University, where he majored in mechanical engineering with double minors in economics with statistics and mathematics. Originally from Ghana and now residing in Ohio, Godswill is a co-founder of Career Uplift Incubation, a digital organization dedicated to helping clients create and review resumes. He's passionate about educating people on international admissions, immigration, and scholarships. He currently works as a tools design engineer at Curally Tool and Die Incubation, a prominent local manufacturing company in Youngstown, Ohio. That's our speaker's profile. So, Mr. Goswell, if you're on the call, kindly give us your insights. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for a heartfelt introduction. I'm so excited to be here. And thanks to Abednego for this opportunity. And so without wasting much time, I'd like to jump into this. So I'd like to share my screen. Yeah. Can you all see my screen?
Oh, yes, we can.
All right.
We can see your screen, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. So yeah, my name is Godswill Gazekpo. I think before I came to the States, I was in UMatt and I enrolled for a year in mechanical engineering. That's how come Abednego and myself met. Yeah, I left UMatt and then I came to Youngstown to pursue mechanical engineering. So today we are here to talk about resume creation and basically having a well-crafted resume is very essential, especially if you're a student or a recent graduate seeking full-time opportunities. It's very important to have this piece of paper or document so that you'll be able to get into whatever role you aspire. So moving on, let's see, yes, okay. So what really motivated us to establish Career Uplifting? So basically, we realized that students such as myself didn't have enough exposure to information regarding crafting a very solid resume. And so, considering this challenge in our society today, especially in most tertiary institutions in Ghana, we're able to come up with this idea of establishing a company or an organization that would assist individuals to create resumes, right? Because having, as I mentioned initially, having a solid resume, it's very important for you to even land interviews because every company receives a ton of applications. So if you're a student seeking a full-time job and then you submit a crappy resume, the HR manager or the person reviewing the resumes wouldn't even waste much time. They'll just ditch it into the trash can. Yes, it's very common just because time is of the essence. However, when you submit a well-crafted resume, um, it would stand out, right? It will stand out. And so that's how come we established this company to provide personalized guidance to our clients, so helping them become competitive in the job market. So that's the whole motivation behind Career Uplifting Corporation. Oh, hold on. Okay, so what is a resume? So as I mentioned initially, a resume is a formal document an applicant creates to portray their background and qualifications. So with the whole concept of resume, it actually summarizes your qualifications throughout your entire journey in the undergrad level or even in the graduate level. So I would like to establish the difference between the resume and the CV because I know most people refer to resumes as CVs. There's actually a difference. So with the resume, a resume is a one-page document which summarizes your qualifications, your experiences, your skill sets. However, with the CV, the curriculum vitae, it's very comprehensive, right? So every single position you've ever held in your life, you would add it to the CV, right? It's very, very comprehensive. It extends beyond just this summarized version of the resume. So the CV is very detailed. However, the resume is this the summary. And with CVs, we submit CVs for graduate level applications. So for instance, if you want to pursue a master's degree, you have to submit your CV. However, if you are seeking a job, a full-time job or an internship, or any kind of work experience that you need, you have to submit a resume. So that's the difference. So why is having a well-crafted resume important or relevant? So basically, having this resume, it communicates your personal brand, as we heard from our first speaker. So the personal brand aspect is very important because it portrays who you are, right? Your personality. So your resume summarizes that. And it also outlines your skills and experiences. So all your internship experiences you may have had during your undergrad level, the computer skills, like any relevant skill that would enable you to secure that job you're looking for. It's supposed to be on the resume, right? It outlines that, right? It gives the recruiter a mental picture of who you are as a person and regarding your technical skill set. And it also makes you outstanding, right? It makes you stand out among the crowd because, as I mentioned initially, if you do not have a solid resume, the HR person reviewing the resumes wouldn't waste much time because, and I also learned that on average, it takes about 3 to 8 seconds for a recruiter to just go through the resume. So considering that brevity of time, they wouldn't have, or they wouldn't want to dedicate so much time just to go through your resume if it's not well organized or if it's not well crafted. So having a resume is very, very important, especially if you're seeking a full-time role. So what are some of the features of a good resume, right? So we know that a resume is a formal document which gives the summary of your experiences and your background. So we ought to know what features make up a good resume. So first off, we have the address and the contact. And second, we have the career objectives or the executive summary. And third, we have the education aspect. And the fourth, we have the professional skills. We have the work experience of the project, and then we have the leadership positions. And just to note, so many people have different formats of resumes, of having good resumes, but I just don't want to put it out there that the features that I've listed on here are solely the main requirements of a good resume. No, there are so many features of a good resume, but this is what I've come up with, right? Just to make things a lot easier. Yeah. So the address and contacts, as you can see from the broken rectangle up there on the resume. So that's the very first item you need to put on your resume. So you need to put on your full name, right? Not your nickname. Yeah, your full name. So if you have a first name or a middle name and the last name, you put it on there, right? So your full name, and then we have the home address. So where do you live, right? Or where do you want to reside is if you want to take up a full-time position, right? You have to add it on there. And I know in Ghana, we do have digital address. So if you know you don't have an actual physical address, you can use the digital address, right? And then your phone number. So you have to put your phone number on there just because after you apply for the role you are seeking, the recruiter will be able to reach out to you, right? So you need to put your phone number on there. You need to have an email address. And also with the email address, it's very critical. You can't put any kind of email address on there, right? Because I know some people tend to have like nicknames, they tend to have like some vulgar words in their email. It's unprofessional. You need to have a professional email address. So you can, so if you do not have a professional email address, you need to create one, right? So the email address could be your first initial and your last name, or your first name, your last initial, whatever format you want to decide to take, you can do that. So you need to have a professional email address. Then we have the career objectives section. And as you can see, there is an asterisk on the career objectives, right? Or the career aspirations. It's optional. People tend to add the career aspirations or objectives. People tend to ignore it. It doesn't matter. It's optional. It's up to you. Depending on the kind of space you have on your one-page resume. If you know you don't have so much experience and all, you can include that just to make the resume very beefed up, right? So, but other instances, you could see executive summary instead of career aspirations or objectives. So, and I included an example here. So what are your career objectives or what are your career aspirations? Is to obtain a full-time position in the field of, so you have to include your major in that square bracket, right? If it's mechanical engineering, you put mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, you put chemical engineering, right? So I gave an example to obtain a full-time position in the field of mechanical engineering in August of 2024. So if you're seeking to study a full-time, let's say next month or in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, just put it on there because you're making it very specific. And as our first speaker said, it has to be very smart, right? Specific. So you include that on there and it's optional. Yes, it's optional as well. So moving on, we have the education aspect. So with the education aspect, you need to include the name of the university you are attending. Obviously, if it's a training college, input training college, right? Include that name on there. So those to give the HR person reviewing your resume a fair knowledge of, okay, where you attended school, like your educational background, right? So you need to include the name of the university you attended, the city and the region, right? So it could be University of Mines and Technology, Takwa, Western Region, right? And they need to indicate the college or faculty of your program of study. So is it Faculty of Engineering, Faculty of Geology, like any, because we have different levels of faculties, right? In any higher institution. Whereas we have the health aspect, we have the art aspect, we have the sciences aspect. So you need to include that college or faculty of your program. So here we can see Faculty of Engineering, right? And then the department of your program of study. So which department is your program located, right? In other instances, some institutions use school. So we can have School of Medicine, School of Nursing, School of Midwifery, right? So you need to include that, right? Yeah, so it narrows it down to which specific department your program can be found. And the accreditation is very important because not so many institutions do have accreditation, right? What do I mean by accreditation? So it's more like a formal recognition given by the government, right, to give authority to that institution to graduate its students, right? So we have different levels of accreditations. And when I looked up online the accreditation of UMass, I found it to be GTech accredited. So so you have to include on there. It gives credibility to what you have on your resume, right? Because when the recruiter tries to look it up, they can like find it easily. So you need to add the accreditation to that program. So you have Department of Mechanical Engineering, GTech accredited. And then next, under the bullet section, the degree sought in your program of study. So what degree actually do you hope to achieve in your 4 year of undergrad study? So is it Bachelor of Science? We have different levels. You have Bachelor of Science, you have Bachelor of Engineering, Bachelor of Engineering Tech, Bachelor of Arts. We have so many. So you need to specify what degree you're seeking. So you have here Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. So you also need to include your graduation date. So if you, let's say you are in your first year, your second year, your third year, you don't have an exact graduation date yet. So in this case, you put anticipated, right? You write that word anticipated before the projected graduation date. So for example, if I was supposed to graduate, let's say next year, right? Next year, let's say May 2025, I'll put Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, comma, anticipated May 2025. So that gives the recruiter the idea that yes, you've not graduated yet, but more like you are seeking as an internship experience or something of that sort. But if you've graduated, you just delete the anticipated and then you put that date on there. So you just put okay, May 2024, April 2024, December 2023, whatever it is. And you also have to include your overall CWA or your GPA, whatever it is. So, well, this is also optional for like several reasons. But the main reason is some students may not really have achieved their expected CWA, and so they take it off, and it's totally fine. It's totally okay. It's up to you, the applicant. Some also want to put it on there just to, like make their resume look appealing, right? So it's totally up to you. You can include it or you can take it off from there. So here we have an overall CW of 82.45%, or if it's out of a 4.0 GPA, you just input on there, okay, 3 point whatever, 3.75, 3.63, whatever it is. And underneath the GPA or the CWA, you have to include any honors you've received or scholarships you've received, right? So throughout your time at the undergrad level, if let's say you've received any recognition, let's say VC's list, best student, overall best student in maths, in whatever it is, just include it on there. And it doesn't have to be lengthy. Just pick up a few of those that really you're passionate about. Just put it on there. And underneath, we see the significant coursework, and I put in brackets for entry levels only. So if you graduated and you're seeking a full-time role after your national service, yeah, it's very important to put your significant coursework, mainly your elective subjects. So I know for mechanical engineering students, and also just a caveat, I'm also a mechanical engineering student, so like that's why I'm more familiar with this major. So pardon me if I'm using mechanical so much. Yeah. So for mechanical engineering, we take several electives. Take vibrations, we take machine design, we take HVAC, whatever it is. So just include a few of those. And the list doesn't have to be exhaustive, right? Depending on the space you have on your resume. But if you know you have so much space, you can include up to 10. Like, yeah, because it doesn't have to be too much. So you just include your elective subjects on there. So now we move on to the professional skills, right? So what skills do we have? Every company wants to hire an applicant that would bring something to the table or that would add value. That's every company's mission, right? Is to grow and to increase revenue. So if they want to hire someone who doesn't have any relevant skills or any professional skills, then what's the point of hiring them, right? So because if you have professional skills, good skills, those skills would enable you to get the role you are applying for. And you should know that whatever role a company puts out there, there's so many applicants who apply, right? So the HR person would scrutinize each and every single resume very well and to narrow it down to well-qualified applicants. So if your resume doesn't have professional skills on there, it's it's pointless. Like you wouldn't even make it past the first stage, right? So example of some skills you can include on there, and I have them into two categories: the technical skills and then the soft skills, right? These two go hand in hand. You cannot have the technical skills without the soft skills, and you cannot have the soft skills without the technical skills, right? These two go hand in hand. So you can have on one side your technical skills and the other side your soft skills, just to be well organized, right, on your resume. So there's some of the technical skills you could include if you are proficient in SolidWorks. For I know engineering mechanical students tend to use SolidWorks for their design work and all. So you put it on there: SolidWorks, AutoCAD, MATLAB. I mean, if you have programming experience, just put it on there. And you also need to note that you need to tailor your resume based on the specific role you are applying for. So if it's an entry-level engineering role you're applying for, you need to include skill set related to engineering, right? I cannot put skill set related to engineering to apply for, let's say, a graphic design position. It doesn't make sense, right? So you need to make sure the skill sets you have match up to what role you're applying for. And you also have to include your soft skills, right? Are you that creative? Do you pay attention to detail, right? Do you collaborate effectively, right? Are you an effective team player, right? Do you communicate very well? You need to include all those there, right? Because they give this general picture about your personality. So you have to include all those there. Moving on, we have the work experience. Now, this is a dicey aspect. Some people may argue that, hey, during my time in the undergrad level, I didn't have any work experience, or I didn't work any internship, whatever. And I'm so glad the first speaker pointed that out, that even your volunteering experience counts as a relevant work experience. So you have to include, okay, what did you do during your volunteering, right? They just want to see if you are proactive enough, right? If you take initiatives, right? So with your work experience, you have to include the company you worked for or you worked at, and then this the city, or the city, and then the region, right? So for example, if you, let's say, worked at Goldfields in the past, just put it on there: Goldfields, Ghana company, Takwa Western. And then the next item is your job title, right? What role did you hold during your time in Goldfields? Okay, were you a safety officer? Were you because I know there's so many roles, so you have to specify what role you held during your time there, and the department you worked at, right? Every company has different departments, much like being in the university with different departments. So you need to specify what department, right, did you work at, and include the date of your experience or your position. So what date did you start, right? So you have to include just the month and the year. Don't add the day you started working. It's just the month and year. Yeah, that's, I mean, a general thing. So the month and the year. So January 2023. If you are still holding that position, just write present instead of adding a projected end date. Because let's say you've not been either laid off, or if not quit your job, or if not relocated, right? So just leave it as present. And the next item, after elaborating your job title, the department, the start and end date, you have to add what were your top 3 or 4 accomplishments during your role, right? Because we can't just hold a position and not do anything, right? So it's expected of you to do something, right, in your role. And now to make this point very well established, we have to use what we call the CAR method. We have different methods for writing resume bullet points. We have the STAR method, we have the 4W method, we have the CAR method. But for the purpose of this presentation, I'll just elaborate on the CAR method. And this is an acronym which stands for challenge, action, and result. And here we see an example. What do I mean by that? So if you held the safety officer position in the mining department at Goldfields, what did you do there, right? So my first bullet point will be implemented safety training programs for operators, which led to a 15% reduction in underground emergencies every month. And now you see these words highlighted or bolded. So the implemented safety training programs, that's the action, what you did, right? And you can never act on something if you did not see a problem, right? Or a challenge that needs to be addressed. So what's our challenge here? Maybe prior to you taking up this role, you realized that there were so many underground emergencies that were occurring whenever the operators went there to, let's say, mine for precious metals like gold or tin, whatever it may be, right? So that's the main challenge you're seeking to address, right? So what did you do after identifying the challenge? You took action, right? You implemented safety training programs, right, for the operators just to um, keep them well informed, right? So, and when you implemented the action, the safety programs, what did you see? You saw a 15% reduction. And now this can only be pulled up when you, let's say, have past data prior to you taking up the role, right? So you can compare your present data to the past data and then find the differences, right, in the percentage reduction. So you do that. So this bullet point incorporates the CAR method, right? The challenge, the action, and the results. Now, using that same method, you apply that to your project. So what project did you hold during your time at, let's say, the university you attended prior to you graduating, or the company you worked for? And on this, for this example, I included a senior design class or a project, right? Or let's say a capstone project or a final year project. And you need to include the project title. So what was the title of your project you worked on? Okay, the project title was, for example, all these examples that I'm using, they are all hypothetical, right? So let's say the project you worked on was automated solar panel design, right? And now using the CAR method, you list your accomplishments, right, in your project. So you designed and manufactured a fully automated solar panel, which increased energy efficiency by 25% to address campus power outages. It could be any single accomplishment you've ever had, right? So when specifying the accomplishment, you have to make sure you use the CAR method to flesh it out. So what challenge did you address? What was your action? And what was the result? Moving on to your leadership position, same approach, the CAR method, right? And here we can note that with the work experience, the project, the leadership positions, I did, you don't have to put I increased, I did, I that. No, you just have to put, so the starting of your bullet point needs to begin with the action verb, right? The verb, right? So increased, implemented, reduced, right? Organized. All these are the action verbs you need to start with, and you don't have to use I, you, whatever it is. Yeah. So moving on, what are some of the action verbs for the bullet point? So here the list is very exhaustive, but for the purpose of this presentation, just put on 10 here. So you have achieved, organized, initiated, planned, produced, resolved, facilitated, developed. The list goes on and on and on. So you have to identify what action verbs you need for your resume bullet point. And what are some of the red flags of a resume? Now, after talking about the features of a good resume, we need to know the red flags of a resume. The first one is a lengthy resume. If you are an entry-level personnel seeking for that role, you need to make sure your resume is only 1 page long. It shouldn't, I mean, if your resume is 2 pages for an entry level, it's a big red flag. It has to be 1 page long, right? Because the resume summarizes, right, your experiences and your qualifications. So it has to be 1 page long. And the second is irrelevant information. I know some people tend to include hobbies, they make typos, grammatical errors. They include personal details like their date of birth or their sex, like, or their gender or their marital status. All these are irrelevant information. You don't need to include them on the resume. And the third, the lack of skills. They don't add what is it called? Like skill sets. So as I talked about the technical skills and the soft skills, they don't include those skill sets. No, you have to include the skill sets on there. Very, very important. And the fourth one, the excuse I tend to hear from most applicants, they would say, oh, they don't have any job experience. No, you have to have an experience on a resume, right? So if you volunteered anywhere else, let's say during the vacation or Easter break or Christmas break, whatever you did, right, you have to put that experience on there. It's very, very important. So now what's next? So we need to get a professional resume, right? A professional resume that would help you so much to get your foot in the door to whatever role you're applying for. So it's very important to get a resume. And in order to do that, well, we have so many services out there. Some people, we have the list goes on and on and on and on and on. We have several organizations out there that help clients to establish their resume and all. But for us, we are very flexible. And because of this event, we decided to give a 20% discount offer to the first 10 people who would reach out to us. And this is our team. So I'm to the left. My name is Goto, and then Vicentia she's currently on the call. She'll say hi at the moment. And we have Irajua who spearheads our marketing strategies. So at this moment, I'd like to open it up to Vicentia just to say hello and to give her 2 cents.
Hello. Is Vicentia on the call?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, Vicentia.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So in about a
Okay.
minute
So
or two, just
good evening.
good evening.
Yes. Grateful to join this meeting, and I just hope that we've all learned something from the various presentations that have been made. So about career uplift, as Gospel has already said everything, and we just want to encourage everyone to try and get a professional resume, as the first presenter said, mentioned that it would help you to put yourself out there and increase your chances on getting a job. So that's just about it. That's what I have. Nice to have you on this call. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vicentia.
All right, so thank you so much,
yes.
Vicentia. So you can contact us. I'll give my contact information to Abednego, and I think I went over time, so sorry about that.
Okay.
All
sure,
right.
Sure.
Yeah, but I just want to seek permission because I have an engagement somewhere. I'll be heading out shortly. So if I'm not on the call, I'll be here. So yeah.
Okay, sure. So it's been a wonderful time having you, Mr. Godswill, Rajekpo. In fact, I personally have enjoyed it. I've learned a lot as well. All the things people include just to feel like they have a bulky kind of CV or resume. It's not necessary, and the way you clarified it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So
You're welcome.
yes. If you have any question, kindly send it to the chat. We'll be reading them as and when necessary. But we have a last presenter for today, and it's in the person of Daniel Menta. Yes, I've had some interactions with him for some time, and I know it's really packed. In fact, yeah. So I'll just go straight to the profile. The profile of Mr. Daniel Menta. So yeah, I read. I hold a Bachelor of Management Studies degree from the University of Cape Coast and an associate member of Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Ghana. Other certifications include certificate in labor law and application and executive certificate in strategic HR management from the HR Certification Center, Accra. I served a total of 6 years and 5 months as senior and principal HR administrator at the Directorate of Human Resources of the University of Cape Coast. Presently, I am the HR officer, recruitment and talent management of SMT Ghana. I am passionate about people's development with keen interest in grooming young talents to become great leaders in their professions. My hobbies are watching football, cooking, and following current affairs. I am married to Mrs. Menta. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our speaker, Mr. Daniel Menta. If you're on the call, we'd like to take your insights, sir.
Hi, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Oh yes, loud and clear. We can hear you.
Loud and clear. Great.
Oh yes.
So I'm excited to join this call. I think that the previous presenters have done an excellent job, Seth and God's will. Their presentations have been very solid, relevant, and it has made my work more easier because Seth sets the tone, and God's will has also spoken about a very important key to landing an interview. And I am going to look at interview preparation. So with God's will's approach to handling the CV, I think he's done 50% of the job for me. So I am going to proceed. Let me mention that I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I hope that you are able to tag along and then take the key points that are raised on this call. So let's zoom right into it. So you have prepared an excellent CV, and then you are looking out for opportunities. You've applied for jobs, and then you are invited for an interview. The question is, where do you start from? So usually you are expected to go back to the job description. By the job description, I mean you saw an advert, you saw a list of duties, what the job requires. Now, looking at the job description again, then you also have to pay attention to the CV that you submitted for the job application. These two ingredients are very important. You have to take a critical look at the CV, look at the job description. Now, there is a link that you have to establish. You have to link your CV to the job description. Identify a link of relevance between the CV and the job description. As a recruitment person, I have conducted numerous interviews. And basically, the items that you use for conducting our interviews are the CV and the job description. Because if I have a vacancy, in my mind, I know exactly who I'm looking for. And it is that blueprint that I put on the job description. So if you have landed an interview, then it means that I have established a fundamental link between who you are and the role that I'm recruiting for. You understand? So it is important for you to link the two, the CV and the job description. Mind you, what I'm talking about is before the interview. So let's just categorize this presentation into before the interview and then during the interview. So before the interview, you take a good look at your CV and the job description and try to familiarize yourself with everything that is on the job description and on the CV. The third thing that you consider in interview preparation before the interview itself is to research the company. It is interesting to note that you have to understand what the company does. You should know what the company is into and how the role you are applying for fits into the company and its strategy. You have to understand that, for example, if you are being hired as an accountant or a finance officer, you know that as a finance officer, looking at the job description, I'm supposed to prepare bank reconciliation. I'm supposed to do expenditure control. How does bank reconciliation affect our overall strategy? Establish a link. How does doing credit control help this company's strategy? You have to establish a link. So it is very important to, one, look at your CV, two, look at the job description, and three, research the company before the date of the interview. Once you've done these three things, then you have to prepare for the interview itself. In preparing for the interview, the first thing that you should think of is confidence. confidence. I mean, Seth and other senior professionals will agree with me that even at the highest level, at the sound of interview, you have some butterflies running around in your stomach, you know. So everyone gets nervous at the mention of an interview or in attending an interview. But it is important that you manage your nerves. We are not saying that it is easy to just push it away, but you have to manage it. How do you manage it? Make sure you have your things right. Make sure you have fully prepared, because if you are attending an interview and you are ill prepared, it is a recipe for you to be very nervous, because it puts down your confidence and you feel that you are not really prepared for the interview. So then you are nervous, you are scared, you are going to fail. So try to manage your nerves. That is the first thing. Manage your nerves and build confidence. On the day of the interview, it is important for you to dress appropriately. I know there are some people who, there is a school of thought that says that, oh, it's about what the person is coming to say and not necessarily about, there's no truth in that, because your appearance also speaks a lot about what your personality is. So dress appropriately. For the ladies, wearing long nails and long eyelashes, well, maybe a little bit overboard, and putting on a lot of excessive makeup will also be a little put off. For the guys, going into an official interview with hanging trousers, wearing shoe without socks, having an unkempt beard, all these things are things that do not speak well of your personality. Remember, at the interview, it is a competition. While you may be the best candidates in terms of content, just your appearance at the interview can tell the panel that, is this guy really prepared for the corporate world? So some people will even check out. They check out of the interview even before it starts, just because of your appearance. So it is important that you dress appropriately for the interview. That's the second point. The third thing is that speak audibly and use simple language. Speak audibly and use simple language. It is important for you to speak loudly so that people can hear what you are saying. If you come to a panel and you are jittery, you are not speaking up, it's almost like you are not sure of what you are saying and you do not want us to hear what you are saying. And it puts everyone down. You know, the people who are conducting the interview are humans. So if we are not hearing you and we have to keep repeating, please speak up, we can't hear you, please. At a point, the panel will stop asking you to speak up. And that will mean that if they are not hearing well, they are not scoring anything you are saying. So speak audibly and use simple language. The other thing is that ask for questions to be repeated if you cannot hear. Ask for questions to be repeated if you cannot hear. If a panelist asks you a question and you cannot hear or you do not understand, please ask for clarity, because you cannot answer a question that you did not hear. So it is important that you ask for clarity if you did not hear a question. One key important thing during the interview is that do not lie about your experiences. So we'll go back to the CV. There are some people who relate to couch their CV to fit an ATS. To fit an ATS is an application tracking system. You know, in some companies, the CVs are run through a software that picks the relevant information on what matches the job. Now, some people have come up with a school of thought that, oh, if you want your CV to be picked by an ATS. Just copy the job description and put it on your CV as your experiences. So sometimes some things that they have never done before or know nothing about, they put on their CV that they have experience in those things. Now, when you do that, sometimes the things are put on the job description, not because we are expecting you to be able to do it, but we are expecting you to know that as part of your duties, you'll be doing some of these things. Now, if I look at where you are coming from, for example, is an entry-level position, and the kind of duty that is on the job description is only someone who has some experience in that role who will be able to do it. Now, if you put this on your CV, that you are able to do this particular assignment, then the panel will be wondering if you are telling the truth. Then they begin to ask technical questions around that area just to be sure that you are conversant with the assignment you are claiming to know how to do. And you will find yourself wanting. So please do not lie about your experiences on your CV. The next point is be lively and enthusiastic. So be very engaging. I'm not saying you should be at an interview and be laughing uncontrollably or smiling without any cause. But if a panel member passes a comment that is a bit funny, you can just smile or giggle and then the interview moves on. It shows that, one, you are confident. Two, you are well prepared to be engaging. Okay, you don't put up a straight face. I sat in an interview with someone, and when you ask the question, he'll give you the response, and then he'll tell you that, thank you, everything, thank you, straight face. After thank you, thank you. Then you see, it creates the impression that you have probably rotated the responses and that you've just what we call baba. You've written the responses somewhere and you are just doing chew and pour. Yes, you've done chew and pour and you are just giving it to us. So, some people, they don't want to be flexible. Immediately they are flexible or they go off track. Everything will scatter in their head. So they just want to maintain composure. Be lively and enthusiastic. Let's know that you are happy about the role that you are about to pick up. So the last part of this presentation, I'm just going to go through some questions that you should be prepared for. Questions that you should be prepared for that are most likely to be asked at every interview. Questions that you should be prepared for. Most likely these questions will be asked at every interview. And how you respond to these questions speaks a lot or influences the panel's decision on your application. The first one is, tell us about yourself. Tell us about yourself. Or they may ask, give a brief introduction of yourself. How do you prepare for this kind of question? Now, this question is usually asked, one, to tell your ability to communicate your thoughts. Two, it gives you an initial opportunity to express confidence. Three, it tells the panelists, it gives the panelists a brief summary of who you are and also shows consistency with what you have put on your CV. This particular question does not require you to repeat your name. So tell us about yourself. Then you start, my name is, no. We already know your name. Your CV is before us. So you don't need to repeat your name. What you have to highlight on is, one, your educational background, what you have studied. After your studies, any work experiences or volunteer experiences that you had. And then third, why you've applied for this role and why you think you are the best person for the role. If you are asked to tell us about yourself, this is a brief summary: your educational background, your work experience or volunteer experience, why you are applying for the role, and why you think you are the best person for the role. Once you've gone through this, we know that this person is in for business. So tell us about yourself. This is how you prepare for such a question: your educational background, your work experiences, why you want the role, and why you think you are the best person for the role. The other question that you are most likely to be asked at an interview that you should prepare for is, what additional quality or what additional value do you intend to bring to this role? This is also a very critical question that you have to be very mindful of, because most of the time it separates the men from the boys. It will be a way that if you've had other people coming for the interview, it will be what differentiates you from the others. In preparing for this particular question, you have to take a critical look at the job description. When you look at the job description, then you go onto your CV and then look for things that you have done in the past that are related to duties on the job description. Once you are able to link the two, then you can emphasize on your strength in performing those duties. I'll go over again. You go onto the job description, go through the duties, and then align it with your CV. If these duties are things that you have done in the past or are relevant to some things that you've done in the past that are on your CV, you have to put them side by side and then showcase or tell the panel about your strength in performing those duties. So, for example, you are applying for the role of a recruitment officer. It says that, you should be able to develop a talent pipeline or a talent pool, or you should be able to conduct interviews. If in the past you have conducted interviews and it's on your CV that in the past I have conducted some interviews, you have to link these two and then showcase some strengths that you have, maybe development of interview questions or assessing candidates. These are things that you need to be a good interviewer. So you have the strength, you have the duty, and then you have your past experience. This is how you are able to bring what additional quality or value you bring onto the job. And then the other question, which is the last one, the third important question that you should be able to prepare to answer for any interview is, how do you see yourself in, let's say, X number of years, Y number of years? Or what are your career aspirations? This question is also most likely to be asked at an interview. How you prepare for this question is to put yourself in the context of the role. I know that you may have certain career aspirations beyond the company that you are applying for, but it is important to show that extra interest in the organization. Maybe you are coming in as a junior mechanical engineer. You want to rise to the top of an engineering superintendent, okay? Now, it will be very good for you to look at some of the roles in your field that aligns to the company. For example, if you are a mechanical engineer, we can start from maybe senior mechanical engineer to principal mechanical engineer to superintendent to general manager. So you have to link your career aspiration in the context of the company. Okay, you have to put yourself in the position that you've been employed in the company. Where do you want to see yourself in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years? in the company. Okay. You have to approach this by indicating further studies. So let's say if you have a bachelor's degree, you can look at the point that you want to approach a master's degree. So maybe I want to obtain a master's degree in future and rise to the rank of a principal mechanical engineer. You understand? It draws the attention of the company that this guy is already seeing himself with us. So it shows enthusiasm. It shows interest in the company. So there are lots of questions, but these are the three most likely things. Like Seth said, we can have a lot of approaches depending on which career line you are tolling. But these three questions are universal and are most likely to be asked in whichever context, whether an accountant, an engineer, or a mining geologist, whichever field that you find yourself in, you would be most likely confronted with these questions. And this is how you prepare for some of these questions. To conclude with my presentation, I'll just want to go over, before the interview, please take note of the following. Be familiar with the information on your CV, the information on the job description, and then research the company. During the interview, control your nerves, be confident, maintain composure, speak audibly, and use simple language, highlighting your strengths and achievements. Ask for questions to be repeated. If you did not hear any, don't lie about your experiences. Be lively and enthusiastic. And always ask questions concerning the role or the company. And I also highlighted how you approach three questions. Tell us about yourself. What additional value are you bringing to this role? And how do you see yourself in the next X or Y number of years? I believe that if we are able to go by these points and also do more research on how to ace interviews, once you land an interview, it will break my heart that you walk out of the interview without a job. Because in our current dispensation, it is even more difficult to land the interview. So I hope that you take this very seriously and plan ahead of time so that when you have an interview, you will be able to ace the interview and get your job. Thank you very much. And the floor is open for questions.
Thank you so much, Sir Daniel. This has been a master class. In fact, yeah, I know people would actually pay a lot of money to get these resources that we've got today from Mr. Goldwill, Sir Daniel, and then our very first speaker, Mr. Seth Adeji. So before we go right into our question, I'm just reminding you that Negos Hub, which is the organizing committee for this webinar and seminar we are having, Negos Hub is committed to professional and personal development. And we have our upcoming masterclass of graphic design, in fact, from beginner to mastery level. And it's going to be from 1st to 31st December. And if you are interested, as you can see on your screens, you can just reach out to the number on 020-995-5808. So at this point, we are just going to take some questions. In fact, a lot of questions from you, our members. Oh, as I can see, someone said he joined late. Could anyone please share their notes with me? Don't worry, we'll get you all the recording. So at this point, we are taking questions. If you have any question, kindly raise your hand and I'll call you so that you can ask. Yes, De Jong Arnold. Let's have your question. Kindly
Thank you
unmute.
very much, sir.
Sure.
Sir, please, I would want to know, and is it possible for me to know how the scoring is done during an interview, or it depends on the company?
Okay. So, Mr. De Jong, I think our resource person said your question. Mr. Daniel, I'd like you to
Yes,
take this
yes,
for
De
us.
Jong, good question. So every company indeed has their own scoring criteria. It differs from company to company and it differs from role to role. But what you can be sure of is that you are being scored on your technical abilities. So that is the job proper, the nitty-gritties and the qualities and the skills that we need for the job. So that one is certain. Then other things that we can also score on is the soft skills, your team leadership, your communication, your gestures. We are looking at your experiences outside the technical abilities that you have. So these are the two key areas that I know that it may be universal across industry. Every industry will want to look at you from the eye of the technical side and also from the eye of the soft skills. That is why it's important to develop soft skills as well as the technical skills, so that if we were looking beyond the soft skills, beyond the technical skills, sorry, then you will also be a good fit as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So Arnold, I'm sure your question has been answered. There was a question in the chat. Unfortunately, since I was off for a while, I think the question has left. Someone asked the question. So if you are the one, you can resend the question. But at this point, those of you who have raised their hands, I think Arnold, your hand is still raised. Okay. So if there's any other question, taking about 4 more questions, then we can have our president. Okay, Princess Edu, kindly unmute and give us your question.
All right. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I wanted to find out when they are recruiting new people for a particular role, they look beyond the physical thing that they are seeing. I don't know whether they trust their intuitions. Maybe the person will have a very well prepared CV, but maybe the person has less confidence. It's kind of nervous, but the CV really looks good. Like not this person can do it. So I don't know whether they look beyond such minor things like that, or they still be persistent that since
Jennifer, kindly unmute. Kindly mute yourself, Jennifer. Okay, yes. I think okay, sure. Just continue.
Yes.
Was the question clear, or I should come again?
Yes, your question is clear.
All right,
question is clear.
Very
So, Prince, great question. So, yes, we judge based on what we've seen. Okay, so from the CV, and then the CV is the first level. So if we look at the CV, okay, well, it's well organized and everything. It matches the job description. Then now you have to come in person or via online for us to do an assessment. So then the interview is primarily to assess further what the CV cannot tell us, or to confirm what you have on the CV, and also to explore further. So like I said, it's a competition, okay? You might be the best candidate, but remember, everyone that has come to the interview has an equal chance of being selected. So if I have 5 people and I've selected 2 or 3, each of these 3 has an equal opportunity of being employed. You understand? Yes. So right from the interview, that is where we are going to decide. And you see, a lot of things come into play. When we are asking the questions, how you answer the question will tell us whether you are a good fit or not. So I've been in interviews where myself and then the head of department were conducting an interview. There were 3 people. We saw their CVs and thought, oh, each of them has an equal opportunity to take this accounts officer role. But after the interview, we didn't even have to go back and forth. Right after the interview, it was just a message that, well, you already know who the best person is. Okay, so interviews are very important, and how you prepare and how you respond to interview questions. Remember, you are not the only one. There's a competition. And once you have been given the opportunity to be interviewed, it means that you qualify for the role. So you are a potential fit for the role. But how you answer the interview questions will make or unmake you and determine whether you leave with an offer or you leave with a rejection. So we look beyond just the CV through the interviews that we conduct. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Ebenezer Kwesi, kindly ask your question.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask if, in case the interview panel asks that, what is your salary expectation? What should we say?
Wow, looks like there's a lot of questions on interviews. Okay, so
Great.
kindly
Ebenezer, very good question. So there are two approaches to this. Okay. The conventional one that a lot of people will say is that, oh, I know your company has a structure, so you put me on where the company structure determines me to be fit and all that. That is more of a textbook answer. But what I expect you to do, and that actually gives me the knowledge that you know exactly what you are about, is that you can just research from the industry or find out from people who are in similar positions that, oh, what do you think is the salary range for this particular job? Don't ask for specific figure because not everyone will be willing to give you the specific figure. But just find out from someone who is within the industry, or even someone who is, let's say, if you are a mechanical engineer and you have a mentor who is a superintendent mechanical engineer in an organization, you can ask, say, please, I have this interview and I am anticipating that this question will be asked. What do you think is the salary range for this particular role? If you mention that salary range, don't give a specific figure that, oh, pay me 5,000, pay me 6,000. Just give a range. Once you give a range, it tells the recruiter that, yes, you know exactly what you are about. Now, people are also of the school of thought that you already know how much you are going to pay me for the job. Why not just, why are you asking me? Now, it is because we want to keep you motivated. Okay. So if you are within our range, we will make you an offer. If you are not within our range, so we are going to make you an offer. And then you decide whether you are going to come for the offer or not. So there are two ways to go about it. You can go by the textbook one that says that, oh, put me in the range of the company. I'm okay. I mean, a recruitment person won't push further. But there's also another way of going, which I believe is more ideal, that you research the role, ask a few people who are in similar roles, and ask for the salary ranges, and then you can put it out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Boss Daniel. Let me see if there's any other question. Okay, Alfredo, kindly ask your question. Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
All right. I recently had an interview for a graduate trainee position as a geological engineer, and I was asked a couple of questions. I'd like some advice on how to answer such questions. So the first question was, how do you feel about job rotation and which roles would you prefer? And the second question was, do you prefer working in the field or the office, and why?
Okay. So the one about job rotation is very important because job rotation is a way that we use to build, is a method of career development. So usually when you are, for example, as a graduate trainee, you should definitely be open to job rotation. You mentioned that it's what, geological engineer?
Sir.
Geological
Yes, sir.
engineer, right? Good. So
Yes.
maybe in the geological engineering department, there are different sections. Okay, so you see, all these things is just to test your knowledge of the industry that you are going into. For example, in HR, there's recruitment, there is compensation and rewards, there is a wellness and well-being. All these are different sections of the HR unit. Okay, I'm not so familiar with the geological engineering, but I am 100% sure there are different sections. So it's just a different way of asking you whether you are open to learning new things aside sticking to just purely geological engineering. You understand? So a smart way of answering this question is to say that yes, you are open to learning as much as possible and you fancy the opportunity of rotating into other sections within the geological engineering department or beyond geological engineering department. Remember that the new way of doing things in organization is building cross-functional teams. So we want people that are multifaceted. He can do X, but he can also do Y. We can benefit from multiple skills. Okay. So the best way to answer this is to go the way of fancying the job rotation and being open to learning new things. Once you link these two, it shows that you know exactly what you're about. You can also research into other functional areas under geological engineering. And then you say that, oh, maybe aside this, I know that there is this section, I know that there is that section, and I'll be willing to learn from each of those sections. So that is a great way to go about it. I didn't get the second part of your question.
All right. The second question was, do you prefer working in the field or the office, and why?
Okay, good. So this also comes with knowledge of the role that you are applying for. Okay, and where your strengths lie. All right. Now, if you have indicated on your CV that most of the experiences that you have and your interest is related to a section of geological engineering that you have to sit in the office and do, then you have to be able to tell them why. If you've also had experiences or you fancy experience in geological engineering that has to do with the field, you also have to state it and give why. But I think that the right position you should take is that always try to make yourself flexible. So I feel that the best approach is to choose one, but go ahead and express your availability and willingness to also be in the other parts. Okay, sometimes it is a trick because if you say, oh, I want to leave field, and let's say they have enough people for the field, that means that you've dropped out. If you say, oh, I want office, and they have more than enough people for office, then that means you've dropped out. But if you say, I like field, but I'm also open or available to take on some experiences in the office, then it gives you that upper hand. And then I'm sure you'll be able to get the position. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much,
you.
sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we are taking our last question from Lydia Mauno. Lydia, kindly ask your question, and then we have a vote of thanks. Thank you. Lydia.
Okay, good evening. So
Good evening.
I wanted to ask for we females. So I have this question, like if you are going for an interview, is the length of your hair, maybe if you are in braids, is the length of your hair being considered as decent or indecent in such a way that maybe if your braids are too long, maybe you didn't tie it well and all that. And my second question is that, do we still have this traditional method where you have to wear a white top, a white shirt or a blue shirt, or maybe it should be short sleeve, it should be long sleeve? And my third question is that maybe if you're applying for a role that's male dominated, do you have to necessarily wear a trouser, or you're okay with wearing skirts? And my fourth question is about what you wear, maybe if a shoe or a high heel or a sandals, or if maybe sandals is unprescribed, or maybe a flat shoe is unprescribed. Like, I want to know much more about it. Yes, and if you're allowed to put on a lip gloss or something. Yeah, so that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you,
Lydia.
thank you, sir. That's a lot.
Lydia, you have my mother's name, and it's interesting. You said that's the end of your question, but that's the end of your examination. It's almost section A, B, C, and D. All right. Okay. I think that with your question, I'll put everything together. Okay. Um, I believe that the name or the rule here should be decency and modesty. Okay. You know how you have to dress in a corporate setting. Okay. So it's not for anyone to say your hair should be long, your hair should be tall, or your dress should be X or your dress should be Y. And usually, what I know is that no HR person or panelist or recruiter will tell you that, oh, we are disqualifying you because of the length of your hair or your dress. But like I said in my presentation, your appearance speaks a lot about you. Okay. So with the hair, with the dress, with the shoe, modesty, decency, and a sense of corporateness, let me put, if there's any word like that, should be your rule. Okay. Don't be over excessive in anything that concerns how you present yourself. I'm sure you know some of the corporate styles that are out there. Okay. So anything decent. There are some organizations that when you get into the organization proper, I know, for example, banks, they have their dress code. So when you get into there, when you've been given the appointment, they will tell you that, oh, here we wear only high heels. Here we wear only 6-inch heels. Here you can do heels and flats. Here, well, on a regular day you can do this, but when you are attending board meetings, you have to wear that. Okay. So for the interview, just maintain, there are no strict rules. Honestly, I've not come along any strict rules, but the rule or the law of this should be decency and modesty. Okay, what is decent, what is modest, and what is corporate? That should be your guide in selecting what to wear as a lady for an interview. For the male dominated area, I don't think that for an interview you have to dress. For example, if you are going as a mining engineer, I'm not sure you should go and look for reflectors and boots and all that. After the interview, you'll be brought in, and then during your onboarding or your induction, you'll be told that, oh, over here, because of the nature of the work that we do, maybe as engineers, you are climbing up, you are going down, or maybe for health and safety reasons, when you have to run, or for mobility sake. So females also wear trousers with their reflected shirts and all that. They will tell you. But for the interview, I'm not sure you should start dressing like an engineer or anything. Just wear something formal, something modest, and something decent for these interviews. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Decency should be the right word. And thank you so much, Mr. Daniel. I've learned a lot. I think she has also learned a lot. Lydia, I hope you are sorted out. Yes, you are sorted out. So since that was our last question, oh yeah, people are saying thank you. Alfred is saying thank you. So that was our last question. At this moment, we are going to have our vote of thanks and closing prayer. And that one, I'm going to lead it. And then after that, you have Abednego give us something last, and then we are going to close. So it's been a wonderful time with you all. It's almost 2 hours since we began. We've learned a lot. Mr. said, open the floor, talking about personal branding and networking and professional development. We had a second resource person, Guto Gadepo, working next to CV and the other documents, and then we've been able to learn a lot about that. And also, last speaker, who is Mr. Said Daniel Minta, has also spoken a lot about interviews. So I know you all have learned a lot and we are going to use it daily. So the recording for this document for this meeting will be shared with all of us in due time. So at this point, we are going to have our closing prayer. Is someone going to volunteer to lead us to pray? Lydia, do you want to help us to pray? Since you still have your hands raised. Oh, it looks like, just because you pray, okay. So then I'm going to pray. Let's all pray. So dear Lord, we thank you once again for this meeting that we've been able to learn a lot from Mary's first person.